Excited. It is baseball time. Baseball is back, ladies and gentlemen. And it looks like Brett's already ready. He's ready to go hit some ground balls to like a few feet in front of home plate.
What?
And he's ready for baseball, man. The owners and the players have finally agreed to something, and we're going to have a baseball season that starts April 7th. It's going to be a mandatory reporting date on Sunday, and that means that we're going to see baseball pretty soon. Spring training, here we come, and we'll talk about this and more on this edition of the Locked On Astros podcast.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. You can find me on Twitter at Eric Talks Stros. Find the show at Locked On Astros, your team every day. Brett, where can you find you at?
They can find me at H-Town Wheelhouse on Twitter and on Instagram, and at Stros411 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Always positive. Baseball's back. Always Stros, baby.
And Rob Manfred, thank you for making the Locked On Astros podcast your first listen, whether it's on the way to negotiation or the golf course or whatever you do, Rob Manfred. Thank you for listening to the Locked On Astros podcast. And thank you for subscribing to us on YouTube. Thank you for listening to us on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to our podcast, Rob Manfred. Thank you for doing that. So the season is officially a go. The players and the owners finally have found a happy median. I don't know if both sides are exactly happy with it. I know that the owners unanimously agreed to this proposition. And I believe, from what I understand, that 26 of the 30 players, the team, I guess the players' reps agreed to this on the player side. But this was enough for the Players Association to say, yeah, let's make a deal. Let's go and play some ball. And we're all excited about this. And it was a busy day. I mean, Jeff Passan even got his Twitter handle hacked, and some weird person took it over for a little bit. But it was a weird day.
Yeah, it was a fake NFT group, and it was funny. I actually listened to a little Spaces thing that NFT group put out saying this wasn't us. Someone masked as us. They actually hacked Jake from John Boy, or Jake from John Boy made it look like they hacked him. I couldn't tell if that was a real hack job or not. But it was interesting today, Eric, because throughout the day you knew stuff was getting closer and closer, but you wondered if it was going to be another day like in the past. You get your hopes up. You see a picture of Bob Nightingale bringing bagels to other reporters. You see Bob Nightingale swooping in with these positive tweets. Evan Drellich kind of went dark there for a while. You didn't hear much, and then all of a sudden, boom, it happened. And there were 4 votes against, and one of the players' side, which would be Castro and McCullers, the Astros was one of the teams that voted against.
I believe the Yankees as well.
Yeah, it was the Yankees, the Cardinals, the Astros, and I can't remember the 4th team. I don't have the tweet
Dodgers,
pulled up.
But I don't
know for
sure.
Yeah, it was either Dodgers or Giants. But basically, we don't know the details behind why. Now, this is my suspicion, Eric. I think it might have to do with the international draft being in there, and the Astros have such a heavy international team. They have more Cubans than anybody. They have a lot of players from a lot of these Latin American countries, and I'm wondering if that was one of the sticking points or one of the reasons why they might. But of course, all we can do is speculate at this point.
Didn't they agree to postpone that discussion till later on in the season?
Right, but it's still going to happen eventually. I mean, that's still going to more than likely occur. I'm just wondering. I'm wondering what it had to have been. Of course, we cannot simply just guess what it was. It may come out, it may not come out. But the positive thing is, the bottom line is, baseball's back with a full 162 game season, with revamped playoffs,
with triple headers,
with a bunch of concessions and things like that. And we're going to do our best to give you kind of the nuts and the bolts of it. I got bullet point examples and stuff we can talk about as we get to those topics. If y'all have questions, ask us. We'll do our best to answer them all tonight.
Yeah, so I'm going to start off with kind of some thoughts by Rob Manfred, since I made fun of him earlier for listening to the show. I mean, who knows if he does or not? You know what? I want to know what the boys at the Locked On Astros podcast think of me. I doubt that. But he said, I'm genuinely thrilled to be able to say that Major League Baseball is back and we're going to play 162 games. I do want to start by apologizing to our fans. Looking forward, I could not be more excited about the future of our game. I hope that the process is a first step forward. I spoke to Tony Clark, that little after the ratification vote. I told him that I thought we had a great opportunity for the game in front of us. And I told him I hope to work with him, not really, on things that are new in the agreement. And he says that he hopes that players see that this agreement as a olive branch.
Well, here's the thing. I don't think that Rob Manfred understood the power of the players' union. And I believe that's evident in his press conference. I watched it in its entirety, and you could tell that he was in shock of how strong the players' union was. I believe, and the owners would never admit this, that their goal was to divide and conquer. They tried to splinter the union over several issues. I think that's why they threw the international draft back in. Plus, they've been trying to get that for decades. The players have always rejected it. And I actually tweeted out, if you follow me on Twitter, I tweeted out from Suspettus Barbecue. They break down a lot of the cons of that issue and why it's not good for international players. But then again, if you look deep into MLB and how some of these foreign players are treated, there's not a great system in place. There's nothing foolproof at this point. But he said this has got to be the strongest union in North America.
Right.
And you have to hand it to the players for staying together. You have to hand it to the players like Max Scherzer. I was kind of on him for about 48 hours. And then when I saw the tweet that he put out, he said, they just now brought this up. They didn't bring up the international draft until New York. They never mentioned it in Florida. And when you got players putting themselves out there saying this never happened or they didn't say this until now, it really gained sympathy, I think, towards the players because the owners were starting to shift the blame back to the players and the public was buying into it a little bit.
Right. I agree with that. And to kind of wrap up on Rob Manfred, he says, one of the things I'm supposed to do is promote a good relationship with our players. I've tried to do that. I think I've not been successful in that. I think it begins with small steps. It's why I picked up the phones after the ratification and expressed my desire to work with him, Tony Clark. It's going to be a big priority of mine moving forward. Your nose is growing. Oh, sorry.
Well, here's the thing. He also said when you implement a lockout before the season, it is the best way to get a compromise.
Yeah, but you also took away the first week of baseball, and now you're going to have to be very creative because who did we start off the season with? The Phillies and the Yankees. How the heck are you going to get those games made up?
Well, you're going to do double headers. They're going to be 9-inning double headers, and they're going to tack on an extra 3 or 4 days to the season at the end of the season. Yeah. So they're going to do that, and they're going to have an expanded playoff.
Yeah.
So get this. Imagine if you had that expanded playoff last year. The Mariners get in, the Blue Jays get in, but you know who still doesn't get in? The Angels. The Angels still don't get in. And
but what if the Angels get Carlos Correa?
That's what I'm saying. If they get Carlos Correa, they still have no pitching unless Carlos Correa turns into a two-way player.
That sounds like something we need to talk about. I know Mr. Corona asked us to talk about who's the biggest free agent signing to sign. We could discuss that in a second. And guys, the Astros have a very tough April. Not necessarily the opponents, but they're going to be on the road a lot.
That's right.
We'll talk about that, and we'll talk a lot more about this. So, you know what? I think with all this excitement, I'm kind of hungry. I could use a Built Bar.
So Built Bar is the best tasting protein bar on the land. Not only Built Bars are wrapped in 100% chocolate, they are protein bars that taste like a candy bar because basically they're just good for you. The difference is They don't have as many calories or sugar as your candy bar does. Throw the candy bars out, or go get a marshmallow, go get a puff, go get a Built Puff. They're marshmallowy. It's the first ever protein infused marshmallow treat, and they're covered in 100% real chocolate with flavors like churro, um, coconut marshmallow, banana cream pie. There's so many flavors. And with the Built Bar itself, they've got new flavors coming out every month. They've got the new Shamrock flavor. They've got the white chocolate cookies and cream. They've got coconut almond, mint brownie, coconut, so much more. Go check out all the decadent flavors. Most bars contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 grams of net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. If you want something that's right for your diet, whether you are on the road back to recovery, whether you are trying to stay healthy or you're just trying to get back in the right swing of things when it comes to your diet, throw the candy bar away and grab a Built Bar. Go to built.com and use the promo code LOCK15. Get 15% off your order. Use the promo code LOCK15 to get 15% off at built.com.
All right, so make sure you check out Lindsey Crosby over at the Locked On MLB Prospects. He does a great job talking about all the prospects of tomorrow, not just the Astros, but all that. And so we are on Friday's episode. Just keep that in mind. So I do want to talk about a little bit about what's going on with some of the rule changes. I know that Will Traveler brings up no more seventh inning doubleheaders and no more men on bases in the extra innings. I hated that rule. I'm so glad that's over. But one thing I do want to discuss that's really didn't come up until the whole thing, all the dust settled. And the Astros in the first 22 games, they play 16 road games. Remember, they're supposed to play the first, they're supposed to open, I believe they're supposed to play six or seven home games. I forgot what it was.
Yeah, and they had the Yankees on tap for that.
Yankees and the Phillies, and that
but
was
they will play them because
but we're talking about the first month.
True.
Yes, we're not okay. We'll get back to that in a second. But the Astros will be playing 16 games in the first month on the road. That's gonna be pretty brutal. So they're only, and those games that they're gonna be playing are gonna be in 1 week. So they're gonna play 1 week at home. So home cooking ain't gonna be there a lot in April. So there gonna be a lot of hotels, a lot of being away from their families. But this is what happens when you delay a season. And so unfortunately, the Astros are gonna be one of those teams that's gonna be hit the hardest with the cancellation of some of the games.
Well, right. And, like we said with the cancellation, those are actually going to be played, but canceling them at the beginning does like make that schedule more intense for them. At the end of the day, baseball's back and they found a way to get this done so they didn't have to cancel games. And that's what I think the fans should be most proud of. And, there are so many questions. There are the questions of Carlos Correa with the status of Jake Myers. What does that mean for center field? Relief pitchers. Are we going to go out and get relief pitchers? Are we going to go out and are we going to trade? Are we going to sign free agents? And I know we'll get into this in a little bit, but Mark Berman shared some thoughts from Jim Crane that kind of sounds like he knows the direction they're going. Teams, even though free agency, like once it started, I think everybody expected all these moves to start happening. They've been talking. They could have talked trades during this lockout, but nothing official has been made. And so I talked to one person saying, I wonder if Carlos Correa knows where he's going. And he's like, Carlos probably doesn't even know where he's going at this point. So we're definitely not going to know anything for a couple days. Who's first to sign? I don't think Carlos Correa will be the first to sign, Eric. I think Carlos Correa won't have a signing until at least a week or two into this period. I'll be honest with you. I just don't see him signing because I think his issues of what he wants and the amount of years he wants, he's going to have to work out unless he has some under the table agreement with the Yankees or with the Astros or with the Angels.
Okay, I'm going to say who's my my first free agent sign, and it's going to be with the Astros. The Astros have a lot more spending room, and so here it is. You ready?
Trevor Story?
Yep.
Why would they spend on Trevor Story if they're not going to spend on Correa?
Okay, here come out Alex with the Trevor Story thing, but I just think that we're gonna. I guess we can talk about the Jim Crane quotes, but um, Jim Crane kind of talked about this. He was saying, "What are?" Mark Berman said, "Well, what are your priorities heading up into spring training?" And it said, "Depends on what happens with Carlos Correa. Our center fielder has been injured. Shortstop is a issue, and the center fielder. Those are some of our objectives. Maybe an arm or two in the bullpen." Says the Astros will make another run at Carlos Correa. "I'm sure we'll engage one more time and we'll see what happens. Carlos is a great player. He's a one of a kind player. I thought we made a good offer before. We'll see where they're at on their side. I'm sure we'll talk to them here shortly." So they're willing to talk to Carlos Correa. The problem is they lowballed him before. Why do you think that they're going to all of a sudden raise their contract, their offer so much, but they're willing to throw that much money at Carlos Correa? I forgot how much it was. It was what, 5 years or 6 years?
5 years, 160.
Yeah. So I would almost bet that Trevor Story would take that.
Yeah, he would, but why would you offer Trevor Story that much money? I wouldn't. I mean, if you're not going to sign the best, then you might as well get on and not pay the rest. You might as well get Jeremy Pena in the mix. You might as well start priming this young stud that is ready to take the reins. And I think that's the direction that they're going to go. I just don't see them signing a Story, or even if Seager is still out there. I just don't see them doing that. But I may be wrong. I'm not Jim Crane. I'm not James Click. I just know the thoughts that I have in my head, and based on what the Astros have in their needs, I think there's a much bigger need starting pitching wise, because JV is coming back from, TJ. Lance McCullers is not going to be ready to start the season.
Did you see
They've got
Forrest
holes.
Whitley? I mean, I know he's not going to be the answer beginning of the year, but he was
Forrest,
throwing 94.
Right. Right. But what I'm saying is Forrest Whitley won't even be ready till June or July. I mean, that's the earliest you'll see him. And even if you see him then, they're going to treat him with kids' gloves, because remember, every time he's gotten ramped up and started throwing, something's gone wrong. So you can't rely on the Forrest Whitley. You do have Hunter Brown. I would depend more on Hunter Brown being an effective piece down the road to help them get to the end of a playoff run than someone like a Forrest Whitley. I think Forrest Whitley is someone as an auxiliary. You definitely want to test his arm in the majors to see if he can survive. He's pitched once or twice at Minute Maid in some exhibitions here or there, but that's it. But Eric, who knows? You may be right about Trevor Story. I've just never been on that trail that takes me to believe that they're going to sign Story. And here's what worries me about the folks that want Correa. Crane said we made a good offer before.
Yeah, that's what worries me.
Correa
they really
never
think they made a good offer.
But come on, man. You remember that good offer we made? You crazy.
When's the last time they really signed a big time free agent? They have they've renewed the current players,
but that's what
they've extended players.
And that's that for me personally is the linchpin in Story, because I do think Story wants a longer. Now, if Story said, hey, I want 5 to 6 years, I want like $28 million, they may go after something like that. He still, to me, has a lot to prove outside of Coors Field.
Right. So here's some more of what Jim Crane had to say. He said, what's next? I mean, Mark Berman said, well, what's next for your club? We're going to be working on it tonight. We've got a few things to do. We've got a good ball club. Our pitching is going to be a little bit deeper with Verlander and McCullers back. We think we got a good chance to win in the division, get into playoffs, and make a run. We'll assess it after that. Probably have the ability to add a few pieces here and there. And when we're a little light, do it at the midterm and see where we end up in the next week or two. Guys will be working the phone. So it sounds like they're already kind of working the phones, trying to see what's out there. So I really don't think the Astros are going to be going gung-ho out there. I really do think that they're talking to Scott Boras and said, okay, look, What will it take to get Carlos Correa back? Because we've already made 2 contract offers to him. He said no. This is a guy we've had his entire career with the Astros. We would love to have him play with his amigo, Jose Altuve. They are hermanos. They are the brothers. They hug each other after every game. Doesn't Carlos want to stay here? I mean, what would it take to get Carlos Correa to sign the dotted line to stay in Houston? And so I think that's what they're going to do. And I think probably with the we haven't really seen what happened with Scott Boras. We know with the old agency, they didn't really have much. I mean, I don't know what happened, but maybe with Scott Boras, there could be some more back and forth and say, okay, well, we think that contract's a little bit light. What else can you do?
The only thing you can do is you can raise the AAV and price yourself out of having or being able to sign anybody else, which they don't want to do. I absolutely believe that Carlos Correa goes somewhere like the Angels. I mean, I really don't think the Yankees are as out of it as I thought they were. The Yankees spend money, okay? And if Carlos Correa wants 10 years, $38 million a year, he's going to get a $380 million contract from somebody. If someone's willing to sign up for it, the Astros absolutely will walk away. Say thanks for your service, adios. Yeah. They will not sign that. If he gets a 5 or 6 year deal, which I doubt Correa will sign because that will put him in his like mid 30s, he's not going to sign a deal like that. So here's the question. What do we do with Pena if we keep Correa or sign Story? That's the big issue. I mean, we keep him.
Yeah.
He would definitely, he could
go
fill
AAA.
in.
Yeah.
Well, he could fill in center field. He could play around the bases. He could play different positions. He could be a guy off the bench.
How healthy has Aledmys Diaz been over his career? So he can be somebody who fits in that role.
Yeah, exactly. So I think at the end of the day, the bottom line is this: we won't know until it happens. We can speculate. I believe that I know most Houston fans want Carlos in an Astros uniform.
I do too. I just don't think the money's there.
Unless Carlos has a change of heart, unless Carlos comes off his asking price, his years and some of his AAV, I think unless he bends to what the Astros want, then I just don't see him here, guys. I honestly would not be shocked if he ends up in Anaheim. I would not be shocked. And if he is, imagine him being in Anaheim opening day with Trout, Ohtani, and Carlos Correa. But see, that's the thing. The Cubs are out. Right. The Cubs are out. They've already signed.
I don't see the Red Sox doing it either.
No, the Red Sox aren't going to sign them. On this list, the Astros and Yankees, kind of realistic. The Angels, I don't see any other team. I think it's a 3-horse race right now. And we just have to go with it. But
I've heard
there's also
before the lockout, possibly the Braves could make a run for it, and like you said, the Cubs.
Yeah, but the Braves got like Ozzie Albies, right? And all those guys.
No,
they have Dansby Swanson.
Yeah, but Swanson is
right. Well, see, I've heard for them. I've heard they're looking at possibly Olsen or was it? Matt Olson plays first for them, right? For the A's, and I know Olsen's been looked at with the Yankees. I don't know, dude. I just know that we won't know. I know that there's a lot to talk about too when it comes to like what happened in the CBA, what rules changed, playoffs, all that stuff. It is a different world.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard to bet on with this new format and everything. So let's talk about Bet Online.
Yeah, so Bet Online is the best place to get all your sports betting action, and the college basketball tournament is finally upon us. So for all the latest odds, contests, and player props, betonline.net is the number one source for all your sports betting needs and info. BetOnline remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sport wagering information needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino games. Head to the website today or use a mobile device and learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Also, there have been major league players can now be sponsored by sports betting companies That is a new rule that has changed. That's never been a thing. And when I saw that, I retweeted that tweet and I said, does this mean Pete Rose gets into the Hall of Fame since they're allowing baseball players to put their faces with sports books? You know what I'm saying? It seems kind of ironic that you keep the guy out for betting, but now you're allowing players to be sponsored by a booking house.
Well, I think it was a little bit of give and take there. And I think that's something that the owners are like, you want that? Sure, you can have it. We'll see what happened here. So, guys, we're both trying to do the same thing. So, all right. So, like World Traveler said, there's 66 people in the chat now. Everybody hit like in this video and go ahead and make sure you subscribe to us. Make us your first listen every day and subscribe to us on YouTube. So, yeah, there's a lot to discuss. And I know we don't have time, and I know the average fan doesn't really care about the CBT and everything. But the reason why I do want to kind of discuss the CBT is it's going up from 210 million to 230. Then I believe it's going to go up to 233 next year, then 236. And then for the next 2 years, it's going to go up 4 million. So then go up to 240 and then 244.
Right.
So
it's going to jump from 230 to 244, which is a pretty significant jump. And now there's different tiers, Eric. They have a fourth tier now.
You know what that fourth tier is called?
The Steve Cohen tier.
Yeah. So, so the penalties for going over the luxury tax threshold are going to stay the status quo. That means that you're going to lose international money and international picks, and not picks, but international money, and might be penalized draft picks, that type of thing. And also, of course, the luxury tax that you have to pay. So they decided not to, for right now, not to go change that too much. So they kept some stuff the same. They did raise the minimum salary to $700K. Then 720 in 2023, 740 in 2024, 760 in 2025, and then 780K in 2026. I hope I said that right. They did go to the draft lottery at 6 picks. The first 6 picks will be decided by draft lottery, and the universal DH in both leagues. So that means that somewhere Zach Greinke is crying because he wanted to.
He want to hit that 10th home run for his career, yeah.
And players can be optioned 5 times per year. So that's something that I think that the players really wanted, or the owners weren't really. I'm not really sure, but baseball, like we said, the 13th is Sunday, is a mandatory spring training report date, except for players who have visa issues, people coming from Dominican Republic, Cuba, or maybe not Cuba, but Venezuela, Mexico, anybody that may have a hard time getting over here at that time. And so I believe, if I remember correctly, that games may be starting as soon as the 17th.
Yeah, I've got that. So here are all the dates that you have to be aware of, baseball fans, Astros fans. The dates are this. March 13th, players report to spring training, like you mentioned. March 18th to the 20th, spring training games begin. April 7th is opening day. April 15th, Jackie Robinson Day. So that means that they will all be where they need to be by Sunday, unless they're having visa issues. There are other things that I do like in this. And this is something that really isn't talked a lot, because I don't think we're considered a small market team. But with the draft picks, Eric, with this lottery pick, small markets can draft in the lottery 2 straight seasons before sliding to the 10th pick.
Ooh.
Large markets can only pick 1 year in the lottery before going to the 10th pick. So that's kind of the penalty for being good. You don't get to keep picking the best fruits.
So if the Astros go through the process again, they can only draft in the first 6 picks once?
Yeah, what do you mean through the process? You mean through tanking?
If they suck, if they suck for 3 years.
No, if they suck, they get to do it. They can be in the draft lottery 2 straight seasons.
Okay, I thought you said that.
No.
Aren't we considered it a big market or no?
Okay, well, okay, I'm sorry. Large market teams, okay, large market teams, right, can only pick 1 year in the lottery before going to the 10th pick.
Okay.
So yeah, yeah, the Astros, I would assume, are a large market team. It says right here that the top 2 rookie of the year vote getters get a full year of service. So there's that. Um, Players, Eric, are going to be wearing sponsorships from teams on their jersey for the first time, kind of like you see in a lot of like the European, like the soccer leagues and MLS. You see in
Locked on
NHL,
Astros. No.
Locked On. Yeah, and you'll be saying the Locked On Astros night where they're wearing the Locked On Astros logo, or the H Town
Somebody can
Wheelhouse
sponsor that,
decal.
by the way.
Exactly. Let's see. MLB pushed. They have the 12 teams in the playoffs. This is what's interesting to me, Eric. A 40, and I want you to comment on this. A 45-day window for MLB to implement rule changes.
Another word, Rob Manfred is a dictator. I make the rules.
Well, it's
I
kind of
I
like, because what did they do last season?
yeah.
What mid-season? What did they change?
They changed the sticky stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, the sticky tack mid-season, which is dumb. I think all rule changes should be done in the beginning or in the end of the season. So I wonder if that's going to come into play ever down the road. Um, there's all kinds of stuff, but here's the thing: the first year increase is the largest single year increase in history, nearly 5 times larger than the 27,500 increase for the first year in the prior CBA. It also represents a larger increase in salary than the total from the past 10 years. So the owners are giving younger players, more money. So Max Scherzer, the veterans, did go to bat for the guys that are
Right.
new and aren't getting compensated as well. Because here's what we forget: because of their 5 or 6 years of service, they're living on peanuts and peanut butter sandwiches literally for those 5 or 6 years. I mean, Ben Verlander told us on this show that his 5th year, he was making $9,000 as a professional baseball player in the minor leagues. So it's good that these guys are getting more what they're worth.
Yeah. So I know that that Samuel says that signing Andrelton Simmons would be a joke. I don't know if it'll be necessarily a joke. He would be exactly what he
He
would
would
be
he would
signed
be
for.
a filler.
He'd be a filler until Jeremy Pena is ready. If
Exactly.
he does nothing, you release him. Like Eric Kratz, the catcher the Astros signed a few years ago. He did nothing with the Astros. What did the Astros do? Sayonara. They just released him. That's what Andrelton Simmons would be. He would just be a filler until Jeremy Pena is ready. If they don't feel like he's ready during spring training, but there's a lot of people that feel like Jeremy Pena may be the starting shortstop for the Astros if they don't go out and get somebody else. I think so too, but I just think that until Carlos Correa or Trevor Story signs, I think that the Astros do like to have that star shortstop. They
Yeah.
have had a winning culture since they've had this star shortstop. So I just think that that's a really key for them. So one thing that we don't have to look forward to anymore is the game 163. They're not going to have that
Amen.
tiebreaker. There's not going to be have any reseeding for the league division series. The first seed will play the winner of the 4 versus 5 wild card series. The second seed will play the 3 versus 6 winner. So I guess we could talk about this in the next show, but there's a pre-arbitration bonus pool, and it just talks about if you're MVP or Cy Young, you get so much, and
Yeah, there are a lot of things, but
there's a
to
lot of
keep
details we're not going to get
yeah.
to.
Well, here's the thing: to keep things Astro-centric, they just released the new theme for the Houston Astros. I don't know if you noticed the video that they're running on Twitter. It's Level Up.
Oh,
Okay.
I didn't see that.
And yes, and in the Level Up video, there is not a single video montage that includes Carlos Correa.
Well, he's
Obviously,
not a
because he's a free agent. I'm just saying. So everyone's like, level up Carlos's contract offer, level up with re-signing Carlos. But I like the level up theme. I really, really do. I think that hold on, Mr. Cronus, why can't you be like Brett? Oh, who's he talking to? I want to know if Corona's talking to you or talking to Sam. Anyways, Corona's having this side conversation while we're talking. You need to focus, young man. We're teaching here. But level up, I think, is a great theme. I'm glad we got off for the H. You know, they had overused that, thankfully. But the level up, dude, I love it. And in the video, it says, we know what the goal is to get to the World Series. We know what we got to do to get there and win it again, basically. Basically saying we just got to level up. We've been there. We've done that. We just got to do a better job at what we're doing. And so I think it's an excellent, excellent promo for that. And someone asked, "Hey, are they gonna be able to shift this year?" The shift ban doesn't go in effect until 2023. So, as far as I know, they're going to be able to shift all day in 2022. Correct?
I thought that was this year. I thought the bases weren't going to go into effect next year, but I thought the shifting was this year. We'll have
Oh,
to look
is it
into
shifting
that.
this year?
Yeah,
Okay.
I thought that's what it was, but I'm not really totally 100% sure. So don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it was going into effect for this year.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Well,
but the
here's it.
bases I know for sure is going in effect and for 2023. I remember seeing that. So
Okay. Yeah. You know, here's the thing. I
there's so much out there, so
Oh,
it's hard to keep
well,
everything straight.
I think that a total ban of the shift is the wrong direction. I think if you give teams a limited amount of uses of it, it makes it more of a strategy. To me, a shift is a strategy minded thing. But if baseball players do what they're trained to do by hitting it up the middle, hit a line drive up the middle, and you got the shift on, well, Carlos Correa is right there every time you don't get a hit. And now they're going to be able to get hits up the middle. So we'll just have to see when these new rules do come into effect, what's going to happen. There's so many questions. Will the Astros go out and get another starter? I know Bassett's out there. Choppa's sitting here saying, hey, what about this rotation? Verlander, Bassett, Valdez, Garcia, and Urquidy.
Oh,
What about Lance
it is
McCullers Jr.?
2023, so you're right.
Okay, it is 2023. So, yeah, so they will be shifting. Joey Gallo has one more year of sub 200 baseball. He'll have another year where he won't be able to hit the broadside of a barn unless he bunts to the left side of the field. But, that's the breaks, man. I think Yordan Alvarez did excellent during the shift. He actually learned how to hit to the opposite field. And Kyle Tucker, I think, is a good enough hitter. He's going to have an MVP type year. But Eric, I'm excited about all the storylines. We got when will Hunter Brown arrive? Alex Bregman, is he going to be the MVP candidate? What is Verlander going to do? What is Luis Garcia going to do this year? I mean, he really shined last year. The whole center field thing with Jake Myers being on the shelf, will Chas McCormick shine and really come to the rescue there in center field? Michael Brantley, will he keep doing Michael Brantley things? And Yuli Gurriel, will he get his second Gold Glove at first base? Will he chase another title? There are a ton of storylines, and what a change of momentum! What a change of just my overall feeling, man. I'll be real honest with you, dude. I was starting to get depressed.
Yeah,
I was
I
starting
think
to
we
like,
all were.
this absolutely sucks, because Sully and I talked about this earlier on the Locked On MLB podcast. With so much going on in the world, so many negative things going on around us, baseball is this game that brings people together across cultural, racial, and ideological lines, and we find something in common, because you and I can think about, probably list 10 people who we've interacted with at games that either listen to our show or just know us personally, and they don't all think like us and we don't all think like them, but we have this friendship and this bondage. Why? In this bond, why? Because of baseball. Because baseball brings us together. It brings the generations together. It brings the different ideologies together, and that's what we love about this game. Man, I'm so glad it's back.
Yeah, I think we all are. It feels so weird not to be kind of looking at box scores and looking on what's going on in Florida and seeing what did Siri do today. How is he battling Jake Myers or Chad? Who's hurt? Is it Chas McCord? No, Jake Myers is hurt. So how?
Jake Myers is hurt, and I'm
Yeah,
sorry I didn't. I'm sorry I didn't mention Jose Siri. That dude is awesome.
yeah.
I love Jose Siri.
Yeah, so it's just this is where we get to see all the stuff, and for everything that's going on too, fantasy baseball, we can start talking about drafts. Like we were all about to
Amen.
postpone the drafts and everything, but now we can start talking about drafting time. So that will be fun. So definitely, if in all honesty, I think we can definitely look for the Astros going to get a reliever, definitely a backup shortstop, and maybe save some money for maybe getting a deadline acquisition. But the next 2 to 3 days are going to be intense. There's going to be a lot of free agent talk. There's going to be a lot of rumors. The Astros are talking to this, the Astros doing this. So buckle in, guys. The next week or so could be pretty crazy. A lot of free agents are about to fall. Will one fall in the Astros' laps? Who knows? We'll have to discuss that on the next Locked On Astros podcast. Make sure you check out also solely up the Locked On MLB podcast. He does a great job. I know Brett said he was on the podcast. We'll put that audio up tomorrow. And make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube, and make sure you keep on watching us, and make sure you listen to Locked On Astros podcast every day on Apple, Spotify, Odyssey, wherever you listen to your podcast. And we are super excited that baseball's back. This is what we dream about, and we're glad to see all y'all back. I know it was a long time, but we're glad to see all y'all jumping back on podcasts. It really makes us feel great. So
no, yeah, thank you. I mean, everybody that's here, everybody that's watching, whether you're on Facebook, whether you're watching from Twitter, just look. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do that. Please tell friends about Locked On Astros. We will be here now, starting here pretty soon, if not next week, 5 days a week. And we won't do every show live, but I promise you, no matter whether it's live or recorded, you won't want to miss a single show. We're going to do our best to bring you player interviews, to bring us inside information that we get, that we find out, to make sure that you, our fan base, is the most informed in the podcasting world, at least as it comes to Houston Astros.
All right, now I can officially say this. Go Stros. Let's get through this rough month of April where we're going to be playing a lot of road games, but the Astros, I feel like play better on the road, so I think this would be better. A lot of boos, or are they going to forget about that? And we could talk about that maybe on the next Locked On Astros podcast. Go Stros.